What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Paste Studio here in Midtown Manhattan, New York City. We are joined today by a really special group. These guys are Sandcatchers. Welcome, guys, to the studio. Thanks so much for coming.
Thanks so much.
So you guys have a new record out, just came out. It's called What We Found Along the Way. It's a really special record. It's a really interesting combination of sounds and instruments, which I will ask you about in a minute. But right now, why don't you tell us about the first song that you're going to do for us, and then we'll take it from there.
Sure. This song is called Sky Stirs.
I think you want to... Sorry.
Sorry.
We need to hear the voices and the instruments.
That's right. This song is called Sky Stirs. It's the first album on the record, and it's the only tune that was written actually before this project kind of started playing and workshopping and stuff. And it was actually a song that I wrote for my wife when she walked down the aisle at our wedding. So it's a special tune.
Yeah, I would say.
For me.
Guys, thank you. That is a really beautiful sound, and one that I have many, many questions about.
Sure.
So, okay, it seems like the core of this project is kind of the interplay between the oud and the lap steel. That's sort of how it would appear. These instruments have obvious similarities, stringed instruments, both. Well, the oud is a 12-string instrument, but kind of based on a 6-string setup. Lap steel, how many strings on the lap steel?
Well, this one has 8. They're usually 6 or 8, but it could be anywhere, 14 strings.
Right.
Seen a 4-string.
So how did the concept come about to bring these seemingly disparate yet similar instruments together into one equation?
So basically what happened was I've been playing guitar for many years and other sort of stringed instruments, bass and mandolin. I started playing I play a lot of Jewish music, and I started playing some of the music of North Africa, and specifically like Moroccan Jewish music, and other things styles of music that involve the oud. And a friend of mine actually recommended that I, just check it out, check out some oud music, and it kind of started like that a few years ago, and then I eventually began studying with a great oud player named Ara Dinkjian, who's Armenian American, and really sort of delving into it a little bit more. So then I started playing weekly at a restaurant near my house in Prospect Heights, Brooklyn, Cheryl's great restaurant, and decided that it would be a lot more fun to play with more people. And it started out as kind of, Mike and I had been doing some projects together and other things, and it was kind of I think I was walking to the restaurant one day, and I was like, that would be really cool if Mike were here. And I think I actually texted you that day, and I was like, hey, do you want to come play at this restaurant? Anyway, it kind of started from there, and after one time of getting together, it was pretty clear that it was a sound that was sort of worth exploring.
Yeah. Was there any skepticism or any there was a chance that maybe these two sounds would not kind of meld together as well as they do, or was it intuitive from the beginning, like these things would work?
I think it was pretty quick that it not only. I think one thing is that sonically it really works well because of the nature of these instruments. They are both stringed instruments, but they're also very different, have different characters.
Yeah.
Obviously the plucked versus the slide, and the more legato elements of the lap steel. But I think also what's great about living in a city with so many great musicians and these folks that I'm really lucky to play with is that you can there's so many ways you can go, and with somebody who's sort of willing to have an open mind and explore, you can really try things out and make things work.
Yeah.
So I think not only was did it make sense from the beginning, but I think we kind of made it, we created something that worked.
Yeah, essentially creating something new out of something old in a
Yeah.
way. Yeah. Cool. Well, I want to ask you more about it, but let's do another song first. Tell me about, is this one also from the new record, the next one?
It is. We'll play the one that actually we released as the single about a month ago. And this one features Eric Friedlander on cello. Actually, the last one did as well on the record. And this one is called Fleas Fast Singing.
Thank you, guys. This is such a fascinating sound. I have now 999,000 questions, down from a million. So it seems like even within the course of a single composition, you guys are shifting among different sort of musical traditions. It's almost like, Mike, when you take a lead, the more kind of blues and rock and some noise elements come in. Yoshi, when you take the lead, I hear the more African, Asian, oud kind of stylings. So how do these all come together for you guys? I mean, is this natural to combine these styles? I mean, there's jazz, there's West African percussion. Does it all come spilling out, or is it difficult to meld these sounds into one thing?
Sure. Mike, do you want to talk?
I think a lot of it comes from that we played weekly for a couple years, maybe even close to 3 years. And when you're playing weekly, you have the opportunity to try things and really explore going in different directions and getting the immediate feedback and then coming back to it, which is not the model so much these days of bands playing together so often. So I know for myself, when we started the band, I had one kind of idea of what we were going to go for and what we would be. And I was exploring it, but then over time things were shifting, and it's like, oh, this is the way to go. And then there's a synergy of hearing someone else trying, hearing what you're doing, and they're bouncing different ideas, and you're just kind of getting closer and closer to being on the same page in your own way.
Yeah, a new page.
Yeah,
right.
A new page.
A new page. And in terms of the style or the traditions that you bring to this, specifically on the lap steel, when you started all of this, what were like the foundations musically that you were bringing to it? Is it a kind of Americana blues, rock and roll thing, or is that just the surface of it that I'm sort of seeing?
I think in the beginning it was a different approach. It was more I was doing atmospheric concepts and bringing Yoshi and I played in some other groups with a vocal ensemble.
Mm-hmm.
So I was bringing a lot of the elements from that group, and then over time seeing what the identity of this group was, kind of blossoming and getting an idea. Actually, I feel like the way I play in this group is pretty different than a lot of other groups, and it's like the style just kept emerging of what we're doing, but we don't know what that style is. It's evolving, and Yoshi and I have talked about this. It's like the thing that I keep in mind a lot is like Stefan Grappelli and Django Reinhardt. Not that we sound anything like them, but they were this dynamic duo that were taking instruments that existed in their genres, and then we're pushing them to the limits in a genre. Like gypsy jazz really came out of those two characters, creating a unique genre and a unique vocabulary on their instruments. And I think that's kind of what we're doing. We're checking out where things are coming from, but we're kind of saying, where can we go with this in this context? How can we develop this kind of dynamic dialogue, with these two instruments that don't play together?
Yeah. I'm curious, was the distortion element always a part of this sound? It's a really interesting combination to hear with the oud, which has a sort of a certain statelier presence about it, and the lap steel kind of gets dirty.
Yeah. It wasn't the original thing, and actually there was one day when before the gig that we were playing, I was cleaning my house, and I had Jimi Hendrix on all day, and something just clicked, and I was just like, electricity, raw energy. And I went to the gig. There's a button on my amp. I don't know if the camera can see it, but it says distortion. And I usually have it really low. And I went to the gig and I just put it to full, and then I never looked back. That was the gig was amazing.
Well, also you were using like a volume pedal, like doing a lot more swell type things, right? You went from there to like actually using your...
Yeah, trying to use my own internal volume,
right?
Yeah,
which is always just loud.
Yeah, right. Yeah, cool. So tell me a little bit about the next song you're going to do for us today.
So we were thinking about it, and we decided this next tune is the one tune in our set right now that's actually not on the record, but we really like playing it.
All right.
So we're going to play it now. It's called Disappearing.
Cool. Thank you, guys. So tell me this. So this project started with Yoshi and Mike. And I'll introduce everyone just so everyone knows. This is Yoshi Fruchter on oud, Michael Bates on bass, Tim Kuiper on percussion, and Mike Friedman on lap steel. So you guys got together as like a duo, playing at Cheryl's basically.
Yeah, and Michael.
Michael was there. So I was going to ask, like, how did it grow? Like, was this always the configuration you saw as, in terms of filling it out? What were the considerations on what other instruments would be a part of this?
Sure. I'm going to pass the mic over to Michael.
I think that, it's important to remember that, Yoshi gets full credit here. Like, he's written all this music. And I think one of the signs of a really great composer is that this music shows up fully formed and works right away. And that, for all what they're saying, I mean, Yoshi would bring in this music and it would be pretty heavy vibe right away. And I think that's important. And, he's written this music that has this sort of Americana basis to it and Middle Eastern vision, but the fact that it's getting played on an oud is what makes those melodies really kind of speak. Yeah. And then, Mike is the linchpin with the weirdness, I think. Right?
And in terms of the percussion, tell me about this instrument and why this, of all percussive elements, is the one that fits here.
That's a very good question, and this is kind of a new addition to the sound of the band. Normally, it's drum set mixed maybe with some other percussion.
Okay.
But this instrument works well because this is basically the traditional West African drum set in some ways. It's just a calabash. It's a gourd. This is from Mali specifically, and the style I'm playing is specifically from Mali.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's something about the earthiness of this drum that works well with the oud. And the lap steel, and just the sound of the band. So I think we just got lucky with this one.
And that actually just brings me back to something, which is each one of us comes from a very different place musically, but I think it sort of ties into the name of the band, Sandcatchers, because I think each one of us is searching, and the name kind of came from trying to catch sand. You can't catch it. It just kind of falls through your fingers. But you're always, you can still try. And I think that's kind of what we're doing. And I think, we all have our own backgrounds and we all have different things that we're particularly interested in and spend time working on. But what I like about this particular project is that we're all kind of going out of our comfort zone in some way, because nobody knows where we're sort of defining what it is as we go. And so using instruments from different parts of the world, or different musical languages that we all have and come from. So that feels really good.
Yeah.
So
yeah, cool. So I think we're lucky enough to get a bonus song out of you guys today. I think this one is also going back to the record.
Yes.
Yeah? So tell me about this one.
Yeah. So this is the title track off our record. It's called "What We Found Along the Way." It's on a new label called Chant Records. We're very excited about it, and we're having our album release tonight at National Sawdust, and we're gonna have special guest David Krakauer. My sister is gonna do some poetry that she's working on, and she actually wrote a poem that corresponds to the track title. So all the track titles you're hearing are based on her work. So anyway, this is What We Found Along the Way.
Cool. Guys, thank you so much.
Thank you.
So these are Sandcatchers. You guys, there's a new record out. It's called What We Found Along the Way. It is available now for everyone to go get. So everyone go get it. And so you guys do it. You got a show tonight, National Sawdust in Williamsburg in Brooklyn.
That's right.
Album release show, or I guess it would be.
This
right?
is it. Yeah,
This is it?
We've been on tour for the last few weeks, and this is our hometown
Hometown show.
homecoming. Yeah.
Nice. And the website is sandcatchers.com, so you can check out the music there. Some more dates. Are there more dates to follow from this one?
We're going to be back on the road in the winter, but the dates are still kind of coming together. But please check back at sandcatchers.com. Check us out on social media, Facebook and Instagram, and we'll definitely be letting you know about when that comes together.
All right, cool. So Sandcatchers, thank you so much for coming to Paste and playing in our studio for us today. It was a real pleasure. It was educational.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, come back and play again anytime, guys.
Thanks.